Joining the show today is Coach Kyle Bright, former head coach at Macksville High School in Macksville, Kansas. I've gotten to know Coach Bright fairly well since the eight-man All-Star game, and I also had him on for an interview not that long ago. But today he's going to join us and talk about running the football out of the spread. Coach, thanks for doing this, and I'll let you take it away.
Thanks for having me on. Obviously, my name's Kyle Bright, and we're going to talk a little bit about running the football out of the spread offense. And I just want to talk about a few things here about why I choose to run a spread offense and using multiple formations. Because the first part of that is it allows you to be a much more versatile team, especially within your blocking schemes and within your play calling. It's also a great way to utilize a lot of different motions within your offense. It can create a bunch of mismatches in your favor using a bunch of different formations. It gives the opposing team a lot more to prepare for in a week's time. It gets your athletes in a lot more space. And also, when you do not have a big physical offensive line like me, you can still run the ball very effectively because of the open field. So, in other words, you aren't confined to a box within your running game. This is just some of the pull blocking terminology that we do. We pull from everywhere. Now we don't always pull, but when we do, I don't want you to necessarily know where it's coming from. We use trap where the backside guard pulls to the end man on the line of scrimmage. We have counter where both the backside guard and the tight end pull, and the guard kicks out the end man and the tight end pulls through the hole. We have power where the backside guard pulls through the hole and the lead back will kick out the end man. We have crash. Crash is something that I kind of came up with because it's the one where the center pulls, the C being center, crash. I thought it'd be an easy way. Um, Tanker being where just the backside tight end he pulls. And scoop, it's the pin and pull technique. I just thought it'd be easier for us to remember just where he scoops to the outside. And then I also have a clip about how a dummy pull can be effective as well. We do not run a zone scheme. It is more of a man-to-man, hat on a hat blocking scheme with some combo blocks. We always down block and combo block to replace for the puller, except for when the tight end pulls, we just leave the end because we have some sort of motion or a read key to hold him in his place. Other blocking terminology that we use. So obviously going back here, we run all of these things, and then just some of our base blocking stuff. We have blast, and I know that sounds very simple. It's just where the lead back or the motion back kicks out the end man, but we run a quarterback blast and a tailback blast. But we also have our lead back coming out of the backfield, and it can also be our motion man. So we do it a lot of different ways just to kind of mix things up so you don't know where the lead block is always coming from. And then we also run ISO, which is pretty self-explanatory. Mostly QB ISO with our tailback leading the way through the hole up on the linebacker dive option. That's probably the one that we run the least amount because I feel like it takes a better offensive line to run that. However, we have had some success with it. Speed option, triple option, where we obviously read the play side to end during the veer portion, and then we pitch off of the next level. Load option is something that I've kind of incorporated here, and we ran more within these last 2 years because we have that lead back. He goes out and he kicks out the cornerback so that he didn't have a free run at our pitchback because we always try to pitch off the end man. Um, we have jet motion with which leads to a jet sweep. And then we also have a midline, which is what I call it. It's not necessarily a midline option, but it's more of a trap block that comes from a motion back to where if you're in a four-man front and whether you're in a shade and a three tech or even if they're both over the guards in the two techs, then we let that side go free, and the guy in motion will kick him out, and we'll run right where he was, if that makes sense. Um, and also, Coach, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I just wanted to look here, for us with our speed option, we always want to read the defensive end. But if the defense adjusts and they line up that end to the inside or head up on our tight end or our guard, then we give what is called a Houston call, and then we pitch off the next level. So we go ahead and we block that man, and then we pitch off the first guy that shows. But here's just a clip of a defensive end read. It's pretty simple. Um, Pretty straightforward. Most everybody probably does this, but this one here is against team in the playoffs this year. They're in a four-man front, which I love running speed option versus four-man fronts. Quick pitch, get out there, and we are going places. Hopefully for a touchdown. Obviously, but that doesn't always work that way. But that's one look, and then we also run it where we pitch off the outside linebacker if the other team makes some adjustments. Now, this is versus a team that runs the wide defensive end look. We attack him, and obviously with him being so wide, if he steps up the field at all, then it's an easy adjustment for us where he just cut up and go. But then tanker, just an example of tanker. Most of the time when we run tanker, it's out of a trip set, and we bring a guy in motion. It's a set motion, which I haven't covered yet. Sorry, but we show the jet sweep, and then we run the quarterback back the other way with a tight end kicking out the end man on the line of scrimmage here. So we have the trips to the one side here. And so we bring him in motion in front of our quarterback, and our tight end pulls backside. Now, what's real about this clip here is we actually do not do a great job, and it's actually a tackle for loss. But you'll see if we block the nose guard like we should have, you'll see that motion really makes the linebackers redirect, and there's a huge crease that we don't get because of that nose guard. Um, so right here, you can see it. You can see where that crease would have been had we got that nose bar blocked. And that's what, for us, the reason why I like Tanker so much is because of the fact that everybody teaches guards or to read the guard all the time, and that's what I teach too. But so if you pull the tight end and you have a jet motion going towards that tight end, he has no choice but to sit just in case you hand it off, and then that actually gives you time to go back the other way, and the uh, the offensive lineman just climb to the next level immediately, and it actually makes for a very effective block. But with that, also we also run a tanker pass, which I'm not here to talk about passing too much, but with this, it can be very effective because if you have a good running game, so here it's trips left the other way. We bring the guy in motion across face. We even show the pull, but the pull he just runs right by the guy, and he goes out here to the flat, catches it in the easy, which actually turned to be about a 15-yard gain, and that was actually a very big play for us in that game because we were able to run tanker from time to time very effectively. It actually led to a nice gain off of that play action pass. But as far as motions go, we have to use very simple terminology so that it's easy for our kids to understand. So our motions are like this: we have send slot motions in, which is our jet motion. We have sit slot motions in, and he sits. So our quarterback will actually let him come in and then let him get set, and then he will actually go on with his cadence there. Then sack slot motions across orbit around behind the quarterback, sat, He motions across the formation, and then he sits snack, which we didn't use much, but it's more of like a sort of like what they use in the flex bone, like at Air Force, where that guy comes in that orbit motion, and then he stops, and they run the triple option back the way that he came from. But then so on that one, the slot motions in and then back out. We have sight motion. The slot motions in, but not in to the backfield. So he starts nice and wide as he's coming towards the formation. Our quarterback will snap the ball, and that gives him kind of a little bit of head start for his crossing route and or his whip route going back to the outside. Then we have hit motion and hot motion. Both of those have to do with a halfback. Hits where he motions up to the line, and then he sits, and then hot is where he motions out. So again, coach, if you have any questions, please make sure that you stop me here.
So
Um,
let me ask you one then. So, and I noticed you put it down there. You have simple terminology. That way it's easier for them to understand. So that'd be my first question here. But you have a lot of different motion calls, a lot of different
mhm.
concepts, and just overall some different terminology with a lot of things. Could you talk how you teach that to your guys? Any secrets there?
Secrets, no. I mean it's as easy as we try to. I mean, I just try to make it to where the word is exactly what it means. Sin being S, slot in. I mean, I don't know. I
Would
don't
you
have.
say, would you say you're like you do a visual teaching of it before you walk through it? I mean, or
Yes,
do you
yes,
go out there? So you draw it.
yes. We do a lot of whiteboard time first, and then we also walk through it out there first, and then we take a lot of our indie period in the early season is dedicated to getting all of the timing and motions down. So, any other?
I will have a few others here, but I
All
wanted to
right,
wait until you get more into your
sure.
sport stuff.
Here's some clips of us running the ball because which can be advantageous if you use motion. Yeah, here's one. This is verse. This is this year. This was our first touchdown in the third game of our season this year. Um, we had been running triple option off of this orbit motion, and it hadn't been working very well because they were shifting so hard with that. And so I just went ahead and we gave that same look, and then we ran trap the other way off of it. This here's one where we are using motion again. It's an orbit motion, but we use the orbit just to draw the linebackers the other way, and then we just run a simple speed option right back where he came from. Once again, they're just shifting so hard with their linebackers that we wanted to take advantage of that look and just run just a simple play back the other way. Then here's one. This is actually a couple years ago versus Medicine Law's year where we just run a simple jet sweep with a tailback that just leads to the outside, and that corner does a poor job of coming out and setting the edge. But that's just an example of how a motion jet sweep can be very effective if run correctly. Um, this one here, another example of a motion. Yeah, this is another orbit motion, and this is the one where I will also talk about later, but it's the orb motion, and then we just run trap back to it where he comes from. And now it obviously helps to have a really talented tailback, but when you can run that trap back at that motion, and that can be very effective. Because one thing that I have learned also is that a lot of coaches, when they see motion like that, the guy that's over the motion man will just come off the backside edge, which can be kind of troublesome. But if you run the ball inside of that, it can be very effective. Now these here, I mean, this is a simple pro formation, but I call it pony because we were the Mustangs. I like this because of the numbers game that it offers for us. For example, if you were to run speed option to the weak side of this, now it's a very quick pitch, but if your left guard can get to that linebacker, I mean, there's nobody else out there. As long as your guy that your split receiver out there can get his block, and then also with that Houston call that I talked about earlier is if that end lines up head up over that guard and they shift that linebacker out, then that actually makes it easier because we couldn't just have our left guard block the end and then we just pitch off that at the outside linebacker. But here's a couple trap plays out of that pony look. Here's one. I think this is just a normal trap play out of it for a 2 point conversion. Um, No, this is the one where this is why we read all of our trap plays because if our quarterback reads this correctly and he pulls the ball, everything on that is heading the opposite way. And so if we can pull the ball there, that's an easy read for a touchdown. Pull it and go. But obviously we did not execute it very well at all. But I just wanted to add that in there. We try to read every time that we run some sort of tailback trap. I don't designate whether he gives the ball or not, but this is why we almost always read because if that backside defensive end does crash that hard and we pull the ball, it will be a big play. So again, I do have some clips on here that are not executed very well. But if they had been, I mean, they would have been very big plays. Here's just a simple trap for a 2 point conversion. So again, with that outside linebacker being out there, we just down block and we just kick him and we just hit it right up that crease for easy two. Um, but I know that for us, we have it implemented more and more trap as I have grown as a coach because of the crease that it does offer. Now I do also have this. This is why we throw screens off of our running game. So you'll see us trap, pull, and then pull the ball and throw screens versus it. Now, once again, this is a poorly executed play because we don't catch the ball and we don't do a great job of getting our edge block out here. But if you watch this, you see how those linebackers go so hard with that pull block. Had we caught it and actually executed well enough, then that right there, I mean, that's a easy 6 points here. With that pull block, though, they are going so hard with that. Had we caught the ball and just got straight up the sideline, I mean, that's a big time touchdown for us there. But that's why I also like to throw in some quick passing games and or screens off of our trap game because it makes us more versatile.
That type of screen right there, that's a call. That's not an RPO or anything.
That that one right there is a call. Now we do have it to where it is an RPO, and with that is we will read the play side linebacker. If he goes with that pulling guard, then we just pull and throw it. But if he hesitates at all, then we give it on the tailback trap. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. I got you.
And then here's one in the playoffs from last season, maybe. Yeah. This one's a little bit different. We show a jet motion first, and then we show trap coming back to where the jet left, and then we throw it back to the jet guy on a two bubble. Um, I got a little bit creative with it here, but it did kind of work for us. Show that trap, and then just pull it and throw that two bubble out there. Um, it's not spectacular, but it is effective if run correctly. Show the jet, show the trap, pull it, throw it back to the guy that didn't that didn't get the ball first, because there are times when people forget about that, man, and that makes it for an easy 10, 12 yard gain. And I think that's it for that. And then here's another formation that we have run a lot of. It is what I call twin split. What I like about it is how much that it spreads the field. We run a lot of speed option off of this stuff, and then we also run a QB ISO off of this that has been very effective for us. So here's ISO out of that twin split look. This one here is in the playoffs. So we would have a twins right with a black side split, and we run a simple QB ISO where the left guard blocks the defensive end and the tailback leads straight up to the linebacker. And I think we take this one for a touchdown here. Just catch it and run straight downhill at him. Boom, bounce it out, cut it up, and use your speed to score touchdowns. So again, just playing in space has been a huge part of our success, because we don't have the biggest linemen. And here's one more example of that same play. Uh, this one is the same year actually, but here it is. It'd be a twins right split, straight downhill at the ISO. Boom. We actually didn't even block it correctly, because I really don't even want him to touch the backside end. Now, if he's a playmaker, and he's very very aggressive, then yes, we will make sure and get him blocked. But if he's a much more passive end, we're not going to mess with him. I would rather my right guard here go straight up to the linebacker, but he doesn't. But nonetheless, linebacker gets caught up in the trash, and we go for a touchdown anyways, because our left guard does a nice job of getting that end kicked out. That was one of our staple plays that year, actually. I mean, we had one game where our quarterback rushed for 300 and I remember exactly what it was, 59 yards or 361 yards one game, and it was off of just a lot of easy catch and run downhill stuff. And then also, if you can run that ISO really well, you can run a play action off it. Now, this is very poorly executed, I I will point out, but if you can run it effectively, and then you watch our tailback runs right by his man. I mean, it looks awful, but had we executed it correctly, that's an easy 6 points. I know that there are other high schools here in Kansas that actually run that same look, and our QB does a terrible job too. He just hops forward. He doesn't really sell it much, but because of that play action look off of our ISO, I mean, it's an easy dump pass, and it makes for a big play. So that's that's just one more example of how having a very good running game can be effective in your passing game too. Now this formation is actually one that I got from my old high school coach, but it's one that he used a lot when they won the state championship back in 2007. Um, it's just an empty set, but we call it Mustang because we're obviously the Mustangs. And I just have a couple of running plays here. I, I want to make sure and show Crash once, just to make sure that everybody kind of can understand what I was talking about. It's not this example is not great, because our center doesn't do a great job of getting down the line. But you can see that the nose guard is not expecting the pole block there at all, and it just makes for a nice play for us. So here we are. Well, maybe. Yeah. I know it's not a very good angle, but The tight end on the bottom side goes to that Mike linebacker. The right guard down blocks on that nose, and the left guard just stays with that backside end, and so that center actually pulls down here to the bottom side guy, and if it's run effectively, it can be a big play because once again, everybody teaches their linebackers to read guards all the time. And so if you pull from a different spot, that can make for big yardage here. And this is one here where we pull to this bottom side guy, do a terrible job of it, but because of the crease that it creates by pulling from a different spot, you can see how that can be very effective. I'll just go and play it one more time. And again, I know it's not a great clip, but you can see the pull and the down blocks and why that is so effective. Part of it also is because they are playing very, very soft because it's second long. But shoot, when you can get 35 yards off of it or whatever, that's obviously a play that we want to run effectively. And then here's one. It's a trap out of the same exact formation. It's also to the strong side. It's basically the same exact look. We just pull the backside guard. So basically, it's there's no difference other than who's pulling, and with that simple change of who is actually pulling, it actually makes it very difficult to key on. So there, that's a nice running play for us, and I'll play that one more time because you can see you can watch the backside guard pull here instead of the center. He pulls, kicks. Now, what's very frustrating about that play is our tight end does his job wrong because he should have went straight to the Mike linebacker, but he doesn't. Nonetheless, we still get a good gain out of that play. This is one that I really liked. It's a bunch tight formation, and it's called a bunch tight. So like this here would be bunch left tight. It's very simple, and this is where I also will show a clip of how a dummy pull can be very very effective. Because if you face some linebackers that read the guards very very well, that can be very difficult to run the ball on. But here's one here. This is our scoop technique. It is the pin and pull. It's out of that bunch set. So here you have a bunch left tight. This would be like a 17 scoop where it's as easy as just down block, down block, down block. Quarterback just takes off and goes. When they line up, they're going to look to the gap to their inside. Whoever's on their inside gap, they are down blocking. So our number three, who's the closest to our left guard, he's going down on that defensive end. The guy up top, whoever's inside of him, boom, and then the outside guy inside of him, boom, because we have the guard that is going to scoop around to the outside to hopefully get up on that corner. Now, once again, this is a second and long, and but you can see how that is a very effective play. Just off, I mean, it is as easy as just catch and run. And then here's one. It's the same exact play actually. I am gonna be dead honest with you. Our guard actually just pulls the wrong way, and their linebacker is reading guard so hard that he actually takes himself out of the play. So it's not actually an intentional dummy pull, but it did work out for us as a dummy pull. So you'll see here if you watch our left guard, he pulls to the right, which takes that linebacker with him, and it actually works out better for us in the end. So he pulls and goes. Linebacker goes with him, realizes that he went the wrong way, and worked out for us in the end here. So, um, you have any questions on that, Coach, at all?
Not really the dummy pull, but I'll go back to the crash center trap there.
Uh huh.
What would you say is the game plan as far as like when you're going to call that play? I mean, is it more of against like a even front and your center's free, or is it like teams that read guards, like you said, where you can pull the
It's more for it's just more for those teams that really read guards hard. If he's uncovered, I actually would rather not run it because
hmm
I want to catch the nose guard off guard, so that if we do have to cut it up sooner, there should be a big gaping hole because our guard should have him washed clear down the line. So, anyways, yeah, that's the effectiveness of the dummy pool. And then I didn't share everything, whatever. But if you guys have any questions about what I have done in my offense or about my offense, please feel free to reach out. My name is Kyle Bright. This is my number and this is my email. Coach, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, so last couple questions here. So obviously you're talking about the spread offense and the run game within it. Could you just tell us like when did you switch? Have you always ran a spread, I guess? Have you always ran it?
Since I became head coach, yes. But a I know that my first year we were 3-5, so we did more double tight stuff because we weren't as talented. Um, but I'm a big advocate for it, but more from the running side of the ball, because that's just what I love to do. I'm an offensive lineman guy, so that's kind of our mentality. So even out
Okay.
of our spread, we're 80-20. So
Yeah, and so would you say then, like you're kind of talking about it right there, but what caused you or led you to go to the spread more so would be like that it kind of fit you better? Is that what you would say then?
yeah, that, and I just love the versatility within it. It just it when run correctly, it's very very difficult to stop, and it is very very creative in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean I agree. And I think I've talked to so many other coaches about it too, that guys that didn't run the spread before or have had never ran it and they started running it. It's just so much more fun. You know, the kids love being in playing in that style of offense and the fans love to watch that style rather than
Yes,
rather than the old days when everybody was running the eye, you know. I mean,
right.
all right, well, yeah, thanks for doing this, coach. Thanks for coming on here and presenting this. Really appreciate
No
that.
problem. Thank you. I hope that whoever watches it can get something from it, maybe.
If you have any questions for me, feel free to leave your questions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video or took away anything from it, please click subscribe. Check out some of my previous videos right here in the middle of the screen. And like always, thanks for watching.